I am Rodrigo Duterte. I'm a Filipino. I love the Philippines because it is the land of my birth. It is the home of my people.
Hello po sa lahat ng aking mga kababayan sa buong mundo at sa lahat po ng mga nasa Pilipinas. Ako po si Mr. Riyoh. So nakita nyo sa nakaraang video kung paano nila ninakaw sa ating mga kamay ang demokrasya, mga kapatid. Imagine tinanggal ng COMELEC at ng SMARTMATIC ang 4 na security locks ng PCOS machine so they can easily manipulate the result of our election. Tapos, sobra-sobra pa ang mga registered voters sa ilang servers, gaya ng mga registered voters sa batasan na inabot ng 256 million registered voters. Pero ang kabuoang registered voters lang sa buong Pilipinas ay 50 million lamang. Saan ang galing yung 206 registered voters na yun? Sa future? Na kung saan 256 million na ang registered voters ng Pilipinas? Pucha, halos times 3 ng population natin yun noong 2010 na. Harap-harap ang panggagago na talaga ang ginawa ng mga basura na to, mga kapatids. So dahil sa mga ginawa nila, obvious na obvious ang motibo nila. Kaya nga mas tama ang sinulat ko sa ibaba ng pangalan ng SMARTMAGIC Technology to fool us all. Mas bagay, di ba? So makikita nyo po sa next video kung paano minagic ng COMELEC at ng SMARTMATIC ang mga resulta ng eleksyon sa pamamagitan ng intermediary or secret server. Watch this.
Sa bawat sandali po ng pamamahala ay nahaharap tayo sa isang sangandaan. Sa isang banda po ay ang pagpili para sa ikabubuti ng taong bayan at pagkapit sa prinsipyo at ang pagiging tapat sa sinumpuan nating tungkuling bilang lingkod bayan. Ito po ang tuwid na daan.
Parang gustong-gusto nilang manira ng eleksyon dito sa Pilipinas.
Siyam sa mga kandidato ng Team Pinoy ang pasok sa Magic 12.
What I'm saying is, it's impossible to manipulate anything in this system and not leave a trail.
In November of 2013, the Automated Election System, or AES Watch, a multi-sectoral coalition made up of computer industry professionals, IT experts, and other civil society groups, released its final report on the May 2013 midterm election. Held at the UP Law Center, the AES conference was given the title Raping Democracy, What Rule of Law? Among the presenters at the conference were AES spokesman Nelson Celis and Ateneo Mathematics professor Dr. Felix Muga II. The collective assessment, the 2013 polls, was one of the worst devastations that has ever struck the nation. Among its findings, the election watchdog has concluded that the 60-30-10 voting pattern seen in the results of the 2013 senatorial elections, which favored administration or Team Pinoy candidates, was the work of a computer program rather than the expression of the will of the voters. The AES Watch declared that it has concluded that the results were not only highly improbable, but that the May 2013 election was also highly suspect to have been manipulated. During the Philippines' midterm election of 2013, Professor Felix P. Muga, a faculty member of the Mathematics Department of the Ateneo de Manila University, discovered a suspicious pattern in the Senate race. He discovered a peculiar pattern in which the result of the Senate race showed 60% of the votes favoring the Aquino administration candidates, 30% to United Nationalist Alliance or UNA, and 10% for all the remaining candidates.
The 60-30-10 pattern is actually a pattern of the voting in the senatorial slate, actually, but only in the canvassing of the senatorial elections. So what I did there is to sum up all the votes for the parties, no, of the senatorial candidates. Like at that time it was UNA, and then the votes of the senatorial candidates of LP, and then the third one is was the independents.
Professor Muga explained that the pattern was not the result of an independent decision by the country's voters, but rather the result of a prearranged algorithm or computer program.
And so I found out that every canvassing of the COMELEC, the National Board of Converses for Senators, LP always got the 60% of the total senatorial votes, and then UNA 30%, while the rest, the independents, is 10%. And it's almost the same every canvassing before it is added up to the results in the previous canvassing.
SMARTMATIC's documented cases of electoral fraud are known the world over. They have been blamed for the 2015 electoral flop in Tabasco, Mexico, where they conducted a blunder similar to the 60-30-10 voting pattern discovered in the Philippines. They were also blamed for Brazil's fraudulent presidential election of 2014. They also rigged the Venezuelan referendum of 2003. And SMARTMATIC has been banned in Chicago for a bungled vote count in 2005. Through bribes, misrepresentations, and fraudulent practices, SMARTMATIC has been awarded multi-billion contracts in Bolivia and the Philippines. So the question remains, why does the COMELEC continue to award the biggest contracts to SMARTMATIC?
Sadly, COMELEC has been too one-sided towards the vendor. And it's very unfortunate for the Filipino people that we have this type of government agency that's supposed to be the watchdog of our democracy, and they've already compromised their principles and values. And not only is it, are they already compromising their position to be independent, but it's also a, if I may add, it's an act of treason. They are like traitors to the democracy. High crime of treason is punishable beyond anybody could imagine, because you have betrayed the country's loyalty, you have betrayed the country's trust in electing who should lead our nation. And that's why we have these leaders of questionable characters or questionable qualifications to be the ones being elected by the so-called constituents, when actually the technology being used is more vulnerable for fraud than when it was done during the manual environment.
With the COMELEC's systematic denial of the major safeguards, standard verification, and audit mechanisms, the results of the AES expose showed that the 2013 midterm elections were not only highly improbable and questionable, but also highly suspect to electoral fraud and manipulation. AES Watch spokesman Nelson Celis has this to say.
ICE Watch was founded in 2009. So at least almost 50 organizations are members of this coalition, like the CBCP, University of the Philippines, De La Salle University. Even the Philippine Computer Society is also part of the Automated Election System Watch. And it is based in the University of the Philippines. So in 2013, they also, or COMELEC, did not comply with the law also. No digital signatures, no source code review. Also, that also happened in 2010.
The AES report has challenged COMELEC to dispute its findings and to release the real source codes, the transmission and audit logs, and all the other election documents and data it appears to be hiding.
These are the telltale signs that how can such a result that would reflect a uniform standard, when in the Philippine history as the voters being united, coming from different regions, different provinces, that everybody voted the same way on the top 9 list of the senatorial. So even the incumbent mayors right now sitting that won the 2013 elections is also suspect of being beneficiaries to the fraud that happened in 2013.
I'm not a statistician, I'm a mathematician. But yeah, I could not actually explain why the pattern. I thought at that time maybe because yeah, the LP was very aggressive in the election, and so they got 60% of the total votes for the senators, and then ONA only had about 30%.
The AES Watch contends
the role of COMELEC is to remove all doubts and all suspicions. As the entity, as the government agency that counts the votes, they should be beyond suspicion. So anything that they do that triggers any amount of suspicion, for me, already is tantamount to them neglecting their duty.
the Election Automation Law, RA 9369, clearly provides within 1 hour after the printing of the election returns, the chairman of the Board of Election Inspectors or any official authorized by the Commission shall, in the presence of watchers and representatives of the accredited citizens' arm, political parties, or candidates, if any, electronically transmit the precinct results to the respective levels of Board of Canvassers, to the dominant majority and minority party, to the accredited citizens' arm, and to the kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas or KBP. However, instead of direct transmission from the PCOS machines to the servers of the various parties as identified by the law, the COMELEC instead authorized the setting up of a transparency server through which the various parties receive the election returns. The transparency server was installed at the Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting, or PPCRV, Operation Center at the Pope Pius XII Catholic Center on UN Avenue in Manila. Yet, a vulnerability in PPCRV's security protocol was exploited in 2013. The COMELEC Advisory Council, or CAC, in its post-election report on the use of the Automated Election System, or AES, in the 2013 national and local elections, cites that COMELEC knew of the intermediary server and the actions taken, but none of those in possession and full control of the transparency server knew of SMARTMATIC's action until after the violation was committed. The CAC report continues. So how did SMARTMATIC's representative get to the transparency server without prior authority to do whatever he had to from either COMELEC or the PPCRV?
One of the major incidents that had happened in 2013 was that something similar to what happened in 2016, when the SMARTMATIC technical person also went inside the data center in Pope Pius, where the operations of the group of PPCRB, headed by Ambassador Tita Di Villa. So right after that incident, something happened with the results.
I was there at the Pius XII when the programmer from SMARTMATIC took off a card You cannot just do that. That's an election paraphernalia. So I asked Marlon, what's this big number of, from the precinct, you cannot have big numbers. And he said, ma'am, disregard that. That is from the intermediary server. I said, intermediary server? What server? That's not in our schematic diagram. And he said, oh, we have to decrypt because true enough, from the precinct, it is encrypted to the, when it's transmitted to the municipal server. That's good, to decrypt that, to encrypt that so that there's no hacking done, okay? But we were not told that it was going to pass through an intermediary server, okay? So we questioned that also.
The CAC report concluded that the very installation of the work file server itself as an intermediary between the transparency server and the workstations of the parties has to be investigated hand in hand with these two issues.
One of the things that was very important that nobody has really focused on is the fact that Marlon Garcia of SMARTMATIC actually twice has put a server in the Pope Pius server. They have their own server or laptop, I should say. So what does that mean? Can you imagine, you put a computer there, you do something that nobody knows really what you did, you can claim it is for this, but how do we really know? I think this is even more important, and Marlon Garcia or SMARTMATIC, who is representing, should actually be taken to court because they are interfering with the Filipino voting process.
So, by the time preparations for the next elections began, the transparency server setup, as well as the mysterious intermediary server, were never really reviewed or given any attention.
He touched the server, he had a laptop connected to the server, yet nobody has said anything. When it comes to ICT, this is very critical because you can key in a few words and there is already a program behind and it can change a whole lot of stuff. So why is this being permitted? This is what I am very passionate about. We have to change the way things are done.